and welcome to my channel. I hope you can hear me. This morning I have decided to clean out my garage freezer, and today I am making soup. I have thoroughly enjoyed the soup that I've been eating that I canned a year ago. So to replenish the soup so that I have it on the shelf, I'm cleaning out my freezer and I am making soup. So if you'd like to see what kind of soup I'm making, stay tuned. So the onions have sweat down and browned nicely, just the way I like it. The Instant Pot has indicated that it's time to stop sauteing. So now what I'm going to do is open up with my new jar opener. I have no idea how to use this thing. I just washed it, just opened it up and took it out of the box. So I'm going to add with these onions my veggie stock and my roasted onion stock that I canned myself last year this time. Let's see if I can figure out how to do this, because I have no idea. Oh, I think this is how you do it. Let's see. Oh, there we go. Perfect. I love it. Did y'all hear that? Y'all probably didn't see it, but I'll show y'all in just a second. So this is the onion stock, 1 quart. I'm gonna pour it in. And there is some onion residue at the bottom, which is great because you can never have enough onions, in my opinion. I know some people like to strain out, but I do not. So that's my onion stock. And I made that August 2nd of 22. Now, I'm gonna see if I can show you guys how to use this new fancy jar opener. And I got this because my other jar opener was tearing up my lids. And if you notice on the roasted onion lid, I normally put, if I've used it before, this is the second time I've used this lid. I wouldn't recommend you all doing that, but I did it because the rubber looked like it hadn't really been used, so I tested it out and it worked just fine. It sealed perfectly. So the other can opener that I was using was tearing up my lids, and I like to reuse my lids for dry goods. And so let's see if you guys can see. Can you all see that? I just put it on there like that and lift. Oh, that sound is beautiful. And if you notice, all it did was rest on the lip right here. It didn't tear up anything, so that I can reuse this lid now for dry goods. The other can opener I was using, and I'm going to show you guys in just a second. This is some veggie stock that I made. I made this veggie stock September of 20. So this one is a little bit older than my roasted onion. There we go. And let's get these out the way. What I had been using before to open up my jars was this, and this is no good for opening up mason jars. All it does is tear your lids up, so I wouldn't recommend using that. Now that I have my stock in there with those onions, I'm gonna add, well, I was gonna add some more onions, but I think I'm good on onions. This is my dried walking onion and leek powder that I made myself, so I'm not gonna use that. I thought about it, changed my mind. This is a mixture of black pepper, mustard seed, and cilantro seed. I like the taste, so I'm gonna put that in there and season that up that way. I'm gonna put some garlic powder. And I'm just gonna be generous with the garlic powder. Because why not? Garlic is good for you. Now, what I pulled out of the freezer was asparagus that I blanched. It was fresh. I blanched it and put it in the freezer. And I'm going to add these bunches of asparagus into the pot. Now, I have washed my hands several times. So my hands are clean. All my tools are clean. I have a few more packets to put in here. I found this recipe online, and there seems to be several different ways that people make asparagus soup. So I'm going to make it the way that makes sense to me and go from there. And this is my last pack of asparagus. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just warm this through. I'm going to bring this to a boil. I'm going to warm it through because it's going to cook in the canner. So I really don't want this to be flavorless. So I flavor the water, or I flavor the stock, or the broth. Actually, it's broth. Stock is when you use meat. I flavored the broth, and I'm going to turn this on and bring this to a boil. So let me do that, and I'll be right back. The asparagus has come up to a boil. It is nice and hot. So now what I'm going to do, I have my immersion blender over here. I'm going to plug it up, and I'm going to puree. And I know, before you start yelling, there are several different people online. I'm trying to plug this up. I've got a power strip over here, and I don't use often, so there we go. Had a hard time getting it in there. There are several different videos online that talk about asparagus soup. They talk about cutting it into small pieces as well as pureeing. I choose to puree. If that's not what you want to do, then choose the method that's best for you. But I choose to puree. I am not going to put milk or cheese in this. That will be something that I add once I open it and start eating it. This is just the base. So and this is hot, so I'm going to slowly puree this, and then I'm going to go to the next step. So it's loud, so I'm going to turn you guys down, turn the volume down so that you all don't have to hear me puree. Now that I've pureed this down as far as I can get it, I'm going to strain it and get it jarred up. I am multitasking today. I have strained some of the asparagus soup, and now it's time to get my jars out of the canner so that I can bottle it up and make room for the rest of the asparagus soup that I need to jar up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this jar and pour the water out, because I put water inside of my jars to keep them weighted down as the canner was heating up. So I'm going to take a few of these out, and then I'm going to start filling my jars. I'm using 26-ounce jars. I just took these out of the canner. The canner is on low so that the jars are warm. I have been straining my soup, and I'm hoping that I don't pour this all over the place, but there is a likelihood that that might be the case. So I'm gonna go slow. I'm gonna take this to a 1-inch headspace. Uh-oh, see, already making a mess. Messes happen in the kitchen. That's just the way it is for me. So 1-inch headspace. Now this is soup, it's been strained. I don't really need to debubble because there's nothing in here. it's just watery soup. But I'm gonna do it anyway, just because it's a good practice to have and it's easy to forget. So I'm going to take this and fill the second jar, hoping not to spill the soup all over the place. And I'm going to have to strain more soup. I still have soup that I need to strain. It takes a bit of time to strain it. So I'm going to get a paper towel, and I hope you all can see. I keep my vinegar over there. I'm going to get some vinegar on this paper towel, and I'm going to wipe the edge of my jar, just like that. I've already checked my jars. They don't have any cracks on them. As you can see, no food residue. I've washed my lids and my bands. Now this one is really rusty, but it's okay. It's not about how it looks, it's about how it performs. Now it may not perform, so I may have to toss this one. Nope, fingertip tight. And that, my friends, is asparagus soup. This is just the base. So I finished straining the asparagus. I strained it twice, and I did not get the amount that I thought I was going to get. I was hoping to get 4 26-ounce jars of asparagus, and I did not get that. I got 2 26-ounce jars of asparagus. Now this one is just a smidge below the 1-inch headspace. So I'm gonna add just a smidgen of water because I want it to be at a 1-inch headspace. All right, so just a smidgen of water, 1-inch headspace, and that was hot water, by the way. I am going to debubble like so. I am going to take my paper towel with vinegar, wipe off the rim of the jar, like so. Add my lid and a ring. Making sure it's sitting properly. And fingertip tight, and in the canner it goes. Now I'm going to have to add a different soup to this batch, but I am going to get this in the canner and get the canner started. Because the bulk of my soup is squash, I'm going to can this as if it is a cubed squash, just to be safe, because there are a couple of different variations of this online and they're doing different things, and so I want to be safe, and I'm going to can this as if it is a cubed squash. So I've done all of my checks and balances. I've oiled my gasket. I've looked through my steam hole and my vent hole, and you can see straight through it. And so now I have the 3 quarts of water. I have a little bit of distilled vinegar in the canner. I've loaded my jars. I'm going to place my lid on. This might take me a minute. There we go. I'm going to secure my lid. I'm going to make sure that my canner is sitting properly on the fire. It is. You want to make sure that the center of your canner is in the center of your eye. I just so happen to have a gas stove, so I have fire, and the center has to be in the center of my canner. So I'm going to turn this up to high, bring this up to boil. When it starts to steam, I'm going to let it steam for 10 minutes. Then I'm going to put on my rocker, and as soon as it well, that's not right. It's been a long day, y'all. But you've seen me can before. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this steam for 10 minutes. Once this steams for 10 minutes, and of course the safety valve pops up, I am then going to place my rocker on my steam valve. Once my rocker begins to rock appropriately, because there is the right type of rock, it has to jiggle just right. Once it begins to jiggle, then I will set my timer. I am going to time this for 1 hour and 30 minutes. Now, I'm sure that's excessive, but I would rather be safe than sorry. So, that's what I'm doing today. So let's get started. Timer has gone off, so it's time to turn off the stove and let this come down from pressure. The canner has come down off of pressure, and so it's time to open it up. Let it sit for 10 minutes and let the hot air vent out. And after 10 minutes, I will take the jars out of the canner. As you can see, no pressure. Opening it up away from me. And I'm just going to let it sit here for 10 minutes and let some of that hot air come out so that it has less siphoning. I can smell the squash, so I feel like it has siphoned, even though I didn't put it to the 1-inch headspace. I tried to give it a little bit less than 1-inch headspace because I just felt like that squash was really going to bubble out. But we'll see what it looks like when we open it up. So I'll be back in 10 minutes. Timer has gone off. It's been 10 minutes. So it is time to take the lid off and get the jars out of the canner. So I am hoping that I don't have any broken jars and very little siphoning. It appears that I have very little siphoning. The water is relatively clear. So I am going to get my jars out. Can you all see that? Beautiful. Sounds like they are popping already. They are sealing. I heard a pop. What I've noticed with the 4 jars lids is that they have a dull sounding pop. I've heard 2 of them pop already. So far so good as far as my jars being intact. All right. The jars are sealing. You guys missed it. 2 more just sealed. Don't know if you can see that. They are bubbling. They're very hot. I want to thank you all for joining me in the kitchen today. I thought about it, and I guess this is going to be a series. What I'm canning out of my freezer. And this is squash soup. This is asparagus soup. And these came out of the freezer. If you like this content, do me a favor, hit that like button, leave me a comment, share this video, subscribe to the channel if you have not, and I hope to see you either in my kitchen or my garden real soon. Bye for now. Just in case you didn't see it, here is the water after canning squash soup and asparagus. Very little siphoning. So this water, once it's cooled, I'm going to transfer it into the garden. No water is going to be tossed down the drain.